fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome one and welcome all to SimSpeed TV. After a scintillating opening round of the season, we stay in the USA for round 2 of the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup presented by Sam Blacklock Media. We're at Sebring International Raceway for a sprint round. It's going to be quite the fun night we're going to have here. My name's Reese Gardner. It's Brad Wingard alongside me in the commentary box with Jay Kennedy on production. Now, this track here at Sebring International Raceway, certainly one of the best tracks in the USA, and that is definitely not Sebring International Raceway. Does look a little bit similar, I suppose. The track looks like it has a mouth. That is Sebring International Raceway. Been around since the late 50s, and it's gone through many layout changes over the years, Brad. This layout is the shortest that the track has ever had, but it remains fast, and crucially, it remains bumpy. It really does a number on the suspension.
Yeah, it definitely does. Thank you for having me in tonight. If you ask most drivers one word to sum up Sebring, it would be exactly that, bumpy. Turn 1's little bit of turn 16 and Sunset Bend especially is so easy to lose your line over the bumps, and Sunset Bend has a lot of effective lines that you can run through there, but if you hit one of those bumps wrong, then that doesn't matter because you've lost it. So hitting those bumps right is really, really crucial, and these guys are very talented, but even they can get caught out sometimes.
Yeah, they absolutely can. We're expecting lap times around the 2-minute mark here at Sebring in the Porsche 911 992 GT3 Cup cars. And in terms of passing opportunities, Sunset Bend is definitely one you can go for. We might see moves happening into the Le Mans corner just before it, but certainly turn 3, the hairpin, and tower turn will also be opportunities to send one up the inside. This is how it's going to go down tonight. 20-minute race 1 and a 35-minute race 2 with a compulsory pit stop in the second race. There's no fuel restriction, so to speak, but the drivers will have to make a stop for fuel in the second race here tonight. So now we check out the lie of the land in the championship standings. Job Stewart is the one who leads the way on 291 points. Cooper Webster driving for Red Bull Esports in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. Crossed the line in first place in both races at Watkins Glen, but in the second one he got a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision earlier on in the race. So he's lost out on getting the max points from that round, but it's looking very competitive up the top here, Brad. We are still at the very start of what is an epically long season, 20 rounds. This could go any way.
Yeah, it absolutely can, and because of the length of that championship, every race counts. We have AOG running the Fixed Indy Australia that we both call on Friday nights, and we've seen how intense that is, and that's a short calendar. But this is 3 times as long, has probably 3 times as many drivers, and it's still too early to call a definite runaway, although those top 2 are definitely up there.
Indeed they are, and you can certainly expect some changes between Grant Matterford and Joshua Van Treek tonight. Those guys only separated by 3 points, and there's still plenty of points up for grabs. As I said, a very long season. We'll be getting towards the final couple of months of the year by the time we wrap this championship up. Well, qualifying has begun, and as at Watkins Glen, we are running split qualifying. At the moment, it is the AM class qualifying with half of the Pro-Am drivers. The Pro-Ams are split in two, and half of them run each with the AMs, and then the pros later on in qualifying. And no one has put in a representative lap time just yet, but we will see drivers starting to come up to that. Zach Nickel being one of them in the 5:53. Now, I'm interested to see what kind of time he can put down, certainly giving a draft to the driver behind too, which can be very important here at Sebring. Where there are straights, they are very long.
Yeah, they definitely are. Even like the runs between turn 13 and 15 at the back end of the circle is a decent run, so you can get a good draft there. And Sebastian definitely getting his money's worth from that draft, getting 4/10 over Zach Nickel, who was second place. So the two only people to set times. Well, they were. Now they start to flood in, but that draft, like you said, is really strong, especially between turn 16 and 17.
Indeed, Jacob Brewer, 2:01.946. The current fastest time is Sebastian Vandel, 2:01.62 for him, as we see Kyle Edwards-Landy jump in there with a 2:01.9. So Vandel is leading the way by a nice margin, but we still have plenty of drivers left to set their times as Javin Wood for Pulse Racing Team begins his run in the 3:69. Javin, one of our AM class drivers. The Pro-Ams are highlighted in that fluorescent greenish yellow colour, and the AMs are the magenta listed drivers. Pros will be more of a brownish orange in the overlays, so you'll be able to easily tell which drivers are competing in which class. Regardless, they are all racing on track at the same time, so there's certainly going to be influences made on the points when they're racing wheel to wheel.
Yeah, there definitely is, and it's one of the things that a lot of people love about this series is you might not be the fastest guy, but you've still got A, plenty of people to race around you, and B, 3 times as many chances in the same car to win the championship because of those 3 different classes. And this definitely helps with the number and the talent spread and gives everyone a good opportunity. And saw Sebastian Vandel spin out at the end of his second flying lap, so he's decided to bring it into the pits and reset. But Kyle Booth on screen now, 2:08.982, his last flying lap, heading down into Sunset Bend now, very bumpy, taking a wide entry, mid-apex. Look at the cars, just absolutely springboard through the middle of that corner, runs all the way out wide, maximizes the run and improves with a 2:02.8, so good lap for him, puts him in 6th place so far. We still have many drivers left to go.
Yeah, considering how Kyle Booth went all the way to the right before the start-finish line, he might be doing another hot lap. If you're coming to the end of a hot lap, you want to take the shortest line possible to the start-finish, which is to stick to the left coming out of Sunset Bend. But now we focus on, in the AM class, Liam James, Zach Mitchell and Javin Wood complete laps there. Mitchell to 10th and Wood to 7th. Liam James running a little bit wider coming out of Sunset Bend. As you mentioned, Brad, there are multiple lines that can be taken through that corner, but I think the vast majority of drivers will be swinging it out wide on the entry and trying to tighten up the exit because you want to get the car as straight as possible to get the acceleration pedal down sooner.
Yeah, you definitely do, especially in these cars. They aren't as fragile on the inputs as the old Cup car was. These are much more akin to their GT3 counterpart, minus some TCS and ABS, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't feel like it's lacking those either, so still maximizing that straight line acceleration is crucial, even if it doesn't quite impact as much as the old cars, but still a good car to drive. And yeah, I think majority of people are going to run that line just because it is that straighter exit.
Well, Kyle Booth looking to try and improve on P7. We saw him gear up for that second hot lap. Let's see if he can get into the 2:01s on this lap here as he comes into Sunset Bend. He gets a little bit of nice rotation on the entry. Went a little wide of the second apex, but he hooks it up for the end of the corner. Let's see if that works out for him. It is going to be a 2:02.653 for Kyle Booth. Unfortunately, that's not going to result in an improvement in position, but brings him a little bit closer to Nicholas Garrich, who is currently ahead of him on a 2:02.469. Got more cars out now. The 6.26 of Matthew Kefford, and he's really driving the wheels off that thing coming into the Gendebien and Le Mans complex. And that back section of the circuit can be very difficult to line up that sequence of turns. There's no elevation change here at Sebring, but the way these corners flow together, it provides as much of a challenge as any track out there.
Yeah, it definitely does. And the run through turn 14, 15, 16, like you said, it can catch you out really easily because you need to brake late and hug inside and not hit the curb, and it's sort of bumpy there but not quite as bumpy here through turn 17 that we see Kefford going through now. For a 2:04.5 for his first lap, got a bit in the tank I bet, but it's a good banker lap so far and his flying flamingos. Very standouting Porsche. But yeah, that middle section before the final back straight it's technical and it's fun, but it can be quite difficult.
You've got to be very careful about how you use the curbs. The 141 of Ben Snell putting himself into P3 so far in this session. He's got a bit of work to do to the tune of about 3/10 to try and take provisional pole, held by Zach Nickel, who we saw a little earlier in the session. Very good time there from Nickel. Mid-201s are the times to aim for at this stage in the session. Let's see if Snell can make any improvement as he crosses the line to begin his hot lap. And this is a good opportunity to check out Sebring. Had to have a couple of goes making your way into turn 1. It's very fast and it narrows up quite a bit on the exit, so you've got to be very careful about how you put the power down on the brakes as late as possible. Coming into turn 3, you've got to hook up a late apex through there, straighten the run through these S's, and maybe a little tight a bit early there for Snell. He would have delayed getting on the throttle thanks to that, but now he leaves it behind him. He goes through the big bend. And this braking zone here for the hairpin, Brad, is one of the more difficult ones. You never hit the same braking point twice because of those bumps.
Yeah, you've got the cones there, but they can only do so much, but getting that exit up and through Fangio is so important. These corners don't have much input, but scrub too much speed and you'll be sitting duck in through this complex here. Very difficult not to loop the car out of that semi-hairpin and then run wide through there. This is a corner that catches a lot of people out. Too early on the brakes, you'll hit that inside curve and your lap's ruined. Too late, you end up on the stand on the outside. And this run is the one we were talking about earlier. It's such a fantastic piece of racetrack, even if it is so flat. Those monster curves on the inside, you've got to eat all of them and get on the brakes at the right time. Pop the curb, keep to the right a little bit, use all the extra curb on the outside, and set up your run down into turn 17, and maybe not.
Slow down.
I'm not happy with that lap.
Yeah, I noticed in the right-hander of Gendebien, he went a little too far beyond the curb, so I think the iRacing sim has registered that he cut the corner there. Shame for Snell. Not going to have much more of an opportunity to have another run at pole position. But Kyle Booth, who we've been monitoring so far, I feel like this might be an improvement for him. We'll have to wait and see. It was an easy exit coming out of Le Mans and not quite taking all of the racetrack coming into Sunset Bend. I think he might be gearing up for another hot lap here. No, actually, it looks like he will be going for the pits, and you don't have to come back to the pits in qualifying or practice sessions. The no escape rule is active in the race, but still, it's a good opportunity to get some practice in entering the pits, because here at Sebring, it can be quite difficult.
Yeah, especially when you're carrying that speed through Sunset Bend and it's so bumpy. If you carry a bit too much, getting to that pit entry is more difficult than it would seem, because it is pretty much literally straightforward for a pit entry. And yeah, these guys are going to have that pit stop like we said in race 2, so getting some practice in now isn't necessarily a bad idea.
Looks like Liam James is thinking the same thing as he brings it into the pits at the end of another run. Kefford coming up to begin a hot lap. Actually, the checkered flag is out for the session, so I think this might be Kefford's last attempt here to improve on what is 14th, second last of the cars that have set times. And it looks to me like he has gained one position there on Lachlan Boyle. Moves up to 13th place as a result of that. Tyson Hanmer, who has been very successful in the AM class in the past, competing in Pro-Am. Hanmer does improve, sets a 2:03.222 on his final hot lap. Not going to be enough to gain a position versus Javon Wood, though. So that's going to bring to an end the first stage of qualifying, and on provisional pole it is Zach Nickel, but Sebastian Vandel getting very close to him. Ben Snell couldn't find those 3/10 he needed to take provisional pole thanks to the slowdown he suffered. Lambie and Brewer, all Pro-Am, complete your top 5. The top Am car is going to be Nicholas Garriott, with Kyle Booth and Jay Schultz following him. Simon Mazzomo and Javon Wood will round out the top 10. And then we have Hanmer, James, Kefford, Boyle and Mitchell, the 15 drivers that have set times here. We will have 15 more coming out very shortly, with a little short break in between the sessions, but the green flag has been given. The second part of qualifying, the Pro class and the other half of the Pro-Am class all making their way out of the pits here, and leading the charge, no surprise to see, is Altus Esports' Jordan Caruso up there with Cooper Webster and the Red Bull Esports machine. And there's already some jostling going on for position here. See Joe Stewart, championship leader, trying to make his way to the front of the queue.
This is kind of the reverse of Monza 2019. Everyone wants to be the first car rather than wanting to be the second car. And Job is not hanging about. Is this qualifying or a race? Because I'm kind of confused at the moment.
He's going defensive.
Yeah, we don't need qualifying. Just bring on the race. And they're not holding back. I'm not quite sure what the tyre life is on these cars. And if you do a slow outlap or not, but it's not really going to matter anymore.
We're seeing another Altus car filtering through to the front. Bo Albert in the 06. He had a pretty torrid night at Watkins Glen, unfortunately earning himself a couple of licence penalty points for an incident in the second race, and ended up getting taken out of the first race due to a collision. So he'll be hoping for some better luck here at Sebring. But Altus, with 3 cars now in this session, they are going to be one of the teams to watch for sure.
Yeah, they definitely are, and anyone who's really watched any sort of broadcast of iRacing knows who Altus is and what they're about, and they are such a competitive team. And having Sam Blacklock rear gunner-ish with Bo and Jordan leading the way is a very, very formidable force. And all 3 of these guys are very hard competitors, but they're very fair. So I know Bo was very disappointed with his result last week, and probably a little bit disappointed with his run down to start his lap, running extra wide at the exit of turn 17. But Job Stewart as well, I was going to say in 3rd place, but 3rd in the queue, also got a massive fire in his belly. So he's not on his own, but he's very much isolated, trying to take on these 2 Altus cars, even if this is only qualifying and not a race.
Jordan Caruso taking a lot out of his car. You saw that huge oversteer moment coming out of turn 1. He won't be happy with that. He'll try to minimise that in future runs. But Caruso now coming into the hairpin. How deep does he decide to go? Hooks up the apex very nicely. And you've got to get on the power as soon as possible. Try and straight line that little S-bend at the exit of the turn. Albert, just behind him, is lifting off and letting Job Stewart go. You mentioned that Albert went really wide coming out of the final corner. He actually caught the grass, and that would have ruined his run down the start-finish straight. So Bo is going to be gearing up for another lap very shortly. Caruso, though, still leading the charge and looking quite quick coming out of Tower Turn. Not close enough to Caruso is Job Stewart to try and get some semblance of a draft. down the straight, so the advantage is with the Altus 112 at the moment. Caruso wasn't here for the first round of the season. Now that he is here, and knowing how good he is, he could certainly be a force. But it actually looks like he might have caught a slowdown coming through that sector. Ends up having to let Job Stewart go. So issues happening here for Altus Esports at the start of the qualifying run. Not an optimal outcome for that team. We'll see Job Stewart come to the line very shortly. The momentum is with the number 35. He is the championship leader, and he will be very happy with that. Also a contender for the championship last season too. 2 minutes, 0.6 the first time on the board, and that is quite a ways ahead of our drivers in the first part of the session.
Yeah, it just shows you how quick these pro guys are. Not to...
Posey getting a bit of a tank slapper on there coming out of Le Mans, and it looks like he's decided to bring that back to the pits.
Probably a smart idea if tyre wear was a bit, you know, lit up with a bit of a tank slapper. But I was going to say, these guys are absolute missiles, and no discredit to any of the other drivers, but I mean, Caruso is a pro license building driver, so, and Bo has been in the past as well for both road and rallycross, as we are all very familiar with. So these guys are no slouches, and I'm not really surprised to see times like that.
It will be interesting to see what kind of time Cooper Webster can throw down. 2:04.6, that is not a representative time for him, and you see that he is trying his best to wrangle that rear end. You need a pointy car at Sebring. I think that might have been very close to getting an off track. You can put a wheel in the gravel and escape, but that would have been very close for the number 37. Looks like he carried the brakes a little bit too far into Gendebien as well, so it might not be another good lap for him. But Caruso now, after having to back out of his previous hot lap attempt, now we'll see if he has what it takes to grab provisional pole from Job Stewart. To the final turn he comes, and again those bumps preserved by the people who maintain the track. 2 minutes, 0.014, that's more like it. Up to the top he goes. And Dylan Burst to P2. Sam Blacklock, teammate to Caruso and Albert, will filter into P4. Now P5, because Albert takes P3, and Cameron Dance moves up to 5th place. Corey Shepherd takes that from him almost immediately, and Sebastian Flock setting a time good enough for 8th place so far.
That is monumentally quick. I remember when GT2s were doing 2 minute 2s, 2 minute 3s around Sebring, and they were quicker, had more downforce and more assists than these cars did. And to see Cup cars being that quick is just astronomical, because you always think of GT3 cars as these Cup cars, sorry, as these knife edge machines where one slight mishap will spell disaster and could be half a degree more turning lock than you needed. But these cars are just glued to the tarmac compared to their previous models.
And that's something that some drivers have not been too happy about. There's plenty of sim racers out there who actually preferred how the old car drove, but at the same time, we do have drivers who prefer this one as well. Really easier to get the best out of. So Cooper Webster now, this lap is looking good, we're hearing, so we'll see what the Red Bull Racing Esports driver can do coming on to the start, not the start finish straight, the back straight. In fact, the Ullman straight, named after Alec Ullman, who was one of the founding fathers of Sebring International Raceway. Getting a nice draft from Job Stewart as well. So we'll see what kind of time he can put down. 2 minute 0.01 is the time to beat. Webster to be able to get into the 1:59s. The time will be on the board here, and it's going to be 2 minutes 0.052 for Cooper. Second place, And that draft from Job Stewart would certainly have helped with that. Regardless, it is very close for the top two.
It definitely is, and of course Cooper getting a top 10 in the first round of the Porsche Esports Super Cup last week. So that's definitely going to be helping him, as this is probably his car of choice at the moment. He nearly collects Sam Blacklock on his exit though, so that's less than ideal, but both Jordan and Cooper showing that absolute muscle, and Job, like I said, Job and Bo and Dylan Burst as well are no slouches, but Cooper and Jordan are just on another level.
At the moment anyway, as Hosey has quite the adventure coming out of the final corner. It's going to be a 2:01.683 for Steve. That's the first competitive lap time he's set, and he'll move to P13 overall, just behind the top two from the first half of the qualifying session, that being Zach Nickel and Sebastian Vandel. Tyson Broad, that would be an outlap for him or something to that effect. Going to wait to see what kind of times he can put down as Bo Albert looks to improve on fourth place coming into Tower Turn. And a very interesting corner. You mentioned earlier, Brad, when we looked at the onboard lap, it's a very difficult turn to get right. Widens right in the middle. You've got to be very careful how you pick the line. We'll see Corey Shepard do it as well. Shepard looking very competitive in the practice session too.
Yeah, another very quick driver. No, nice and simple, green and white with a little bit of black paint. It's simplicity at its finest, and coming around the back section now into Le Mans nearly. Very bumpy mid-section of track as we go onto that old airfield section of road and down that nice back straight. It's one of the only real breathing places you get on this track, this and the main straight. The other ones are kind of long, but you know, you've got the the curve between turn 4 and the hairpin, and then you've got the big bend, thank you, and you've got Fangio S's sort of on the back straight as well, or the middle straight. So you're still thinking these two straights, you're like, okay, I can actually breathe and focus on this hellish last corner with this hellish first corner.
Yeah, they're two turns that require quite a bit of preparation. Shepard gearing up for another hot lap there as Van Treek making his way down the back stretch. Got Ryan Jones in tow and trying his best to warm up the tyres because it is crunch time for these guys. 30 seconds ago they were given the 2-minute warning. The moment the session reaches 2 minutes to go, that will be checkered flag, and if you've started a hot lap by the time you get to the 2-minute mark, you will be able to finish it. And drivers like Alex John will be looking to complete their final lap of the session, I would believe, here, as he'll reach the 1-minute mark of his lap as we are under 3 minutes to go. Alex John in the number 77, down in 27th position at the moment. He's been struggling to get a competitive time in, so he'll be hoping to break into the 202s.
Yeah, this is the pretty long track, like 2 minutes is a decent lap time, but you've got 15 cars on the track going full qualifying spec, so that's not really a lot of space to work with, and you really got to pick your moments, and sometimes you're just unlucky. Someone has a spin in front of you or catches some grass and slows down, or you make a mistake and someone's right behind you. It's a long track, but it really doesn't feel like it.
Just up ahead of Alex John, it looked like a little bit of gamesmanship happening between Cooper Webster and Job Stewart. They were both slowing down to let each other by, but neither of them wanted to be the car in front as John abandons his hot lap attempt. Checkered flag now out in the session, and I'm wondering if Job Stewart crossed the line in time. It might be borderline for him as he's in the draft of Cooper Webster, who goes for a big old slide out of turn 1, and it looks like both of them have well and truly decided to abandon that qualifying run. So that looks to me like Webster and Stewart will remain second and fourth. That is, if there are drivers on hot laps who aren't able to improve. One of them being Tyson Broad. 2:02.024 is the time he needs to exceed, and it's a pretty clean exit from the final corner. Doesn't look like it's going to be into the 2 minutes, but definitely a 2:01.6. That promotes him to 13th. Good stuff there. We still have Steve Hosey and Ryan Jones out on track at the moment. Hosey, oh no, he's been having problems at that corner all session, it seems, just getting the rear end light coming through there. Matt Bowler for Pursuit Sim Racing. He unfortunately disconnected at the start of the session, so he hasn't had much of an opportunity to get his times in. He will be one of the last here to get it done coming into the final corner. Looks like Ryan Jones is back in the pits, so it all falls down here to Matt Bowler, who rounds out the top 10 as things stand. Will he be able to start any higher? The Pursuit driver crosses the line, and it is going to be a 2-minute point, 9:41. That's going to be good for him. Promotes him up one position. Puts Sebastian Flock back into 10th place. And one of the Altus cars, Bo Albert, trying to improve on P5 here. Cooper Webster not able to improve, but Albert does and goes up to P3. Good stuff there. Sam Blacklock also improves to P6. So there we go. As qualifying has ended, it is quite close between drivers on these rows. Caruso and Webster are going to lead them away for race 1. Bo Albert and Dylan Burst 3rd and 4th. Meanwhile, it's Job Stewart and Sam Blacklock who round out the top 6. Corey Shepard and Cameron Dance will start alongside each other on row 4. Matt Bowler and Sebastian Flock round out the top 10. Thomas Hintz will line up 11th alongside pole in Pro-Am, Zach Nickel.
Tyson Broad and Sebastian Vandel start row 7. Steve Hosey having a lot of trouble in qualifying, starts row 8 with Ben Snell. Kyle Lamb and Jacob Brewer share row 9 with Sam Muir and Ryan Jones in row 10. Nicholas Garoich first to qualify in AM, next to Joshua Van Trek on row 11, and Kyle Booth and Jay Schultz share row 12.
Starting out of 25th is going to be Simon Mazzomo for Drop Bear Motorsports. He starts alongside Javin Wood. Tyson Hanmer and Alex John will share the 14th row. Liam James and Matthew Kefford round out the top 30. And our final 3 cars, Lachlan Boyle, Zach Mitchell and Glenn Bonetti, all drivers setting times in qualifying. And of course, Daniel Yeaman and Tom Wilkinson will be your race control for tonight. Driving their McLaren 570S GT4s, they serve as the safety car if there's a big enough incident to cause a caution. And speaking of race control, they've already got an incident on their hands. It's going to be a post-race investigation for qualifying conduct between Job Stewart and Cooper Webster. I think that might have something to do with the incident that we caught coming out of turn 1. Potentially the jostling for draft advantage on the lap before that. Either way, that is the field as things stand, and the seconds are ticking down. We're about to go racing in the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup, presented by Sam Blacklock Media. The revs rise, and the standing start is go, and it's looking like the best of starts from Dylan Burst, who's going to get overtaken by Job Stewart. Meanwhile, a pretty good start from Sebastian Flock coming out of 10th. He'll run alongside Cameron Dance as it is Altus 1 and 2. Almost coming out of turn 1, Cooper Webster having to yield to Bo Albert, who got on the inside. The top 5 have broken away, and we've already got a couple of cars having some issues there. Look at the pack for 6th on back. Corey Shepard passing Sam Blacklock. Matthew Bowler trying to complete the move on Cameron Dance. There's a spinner. Thomas Hins has been turned around, and he won't be able to get back on track anytime soon. As the field goes by, looks to me like that was rear-end contact from Sebastian Vandel. Meanwhile, Dylan Burst trying his best to make up positions. He's going for it and passing Job Stewart on the inside, coming into the hairpin. At the moment, though, it is Cooper Webster and trying to chase down Bo Albert for the lead of this race. And quite the interesting first lap so far. We've still got half of it to go.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I saw a car exit stage left at the exit of turn 1, and it was Joshua Treat got a bit of contact because they were 3 wide through turn 1, which is usually ill-advised, but they did it anyway. He got sent into the catch fence or the tyre barrier at the exit of turn 1. No major damage, but he's just passed Matthew Kefford for 29th position.
Oh, Dylan Burst! Oh, getting squeezed by Job Stewart and then took a ton of curb. Meanwhile, Jordan Caruso had an incident on lap 1. We'll get it on replay when we can. Bump drafting Jordan Caruso down the Alec Ullman straight. Burst is going to be on the outside, coming into the Sunset Bend. We'll have to give these drivers space. Who gets the best exit? Job Stewart is going to lead the way out of the corner, but Jordan Caruso trying to line him up here. He gets boxed in though. He's got Dylan Burst to his left. Caruso going defensive. He doesn't want to get passed by Burst as Burst gets into the wall and dives into the first turn. He's not going to make it out of there in one piece. Oh, he might just, but he has massively compromised himself with that side by side between Stewart and Caruso. This racing is so intense as Corey Shepherd then has to make room for Dylan Burst and backs out of the move.
And all this is doing is help Bo Albert. He's now, well, still under threat, but Cooper Webster and Bo Albert have a 2.5 second lead over this pack for third. Cooper Webster going for the lunge up the inside. Bo will give him the space, but the track does come back to him eventually. There it is. Bit of contact mid-corner. They run side by side out of the chicane through Bangio into turn 10. And Bo Albert still has the lead, but now they're starting to take time to the group behind him. It's just that ebb and flow, and I don't know who's going to ebb and who's going to flow.
Cooper Webster and Bo Albert are former teammates. Cooper Webster, formerly of Altus Esports, before he got picked up by Red Bull for the Super Cup. And now that we have a slight lull in the action, we're going to have a look at the start once again, because something happened to Jordan Caruso. We'll see what happened to him coming out of turn 3. Started on pole position, led the way into turn 1, a tight line coming into the first turn, got some understeer on, and was this contact? Maybe, not too sure. He does get on the brakes quite late though, and a little bit of oversteer, and he got into the grass coming through turn 3. Meanwhile, we see what happened to Thomas Hinds, that contact with goodness. It's not a good night there for Thomas Hinds. But back to live pictures. Cooper Webster taking the lead from Bo Albert at Sunset Bend. Albert's going to fight him coming into turn 1. Swings out wide to get the best run through. Wants to try and get the power down, but Webster parking it on the apex and blocking his advance. He's going to go defensive coming into turn 3. And they give each other a good amount of room. That's good racing between these two.
This is why so many people love this track. So many lines to run through turn 1, so you can do an over-under, because the track is so astronomically wide. You can hang it around the outside of turn 2, I'm going to call it, although my overlay says differently, and get that run through turn 4 up the inside, and maybe try and run it around the outside of turn 5. And the track just comes back to you in so many different places. Caruso is now back up to third. He's managed to shuffle his way to the front of that monumental pack, and is now catching the Albert Webster duel at a rate of knots. That gap is halved in bare on a lap.
Jake Schultz having some issues coming out of the hairpin. He's had to let a few drivers by, and he will get passed by Joshua Van Treat coming into turn 10. Meanwhile, on board here with Dylan Burst as he tries to chase down Job Stewart and get back up into 4th place. And Burst will already be carrying some slight damage from that clip of the wall on the start-finish straight. Just behind him, there's an excellent battle going on for P7 that we briefly took a look at. Sam Blacklock trying his best to hold off the advances of Cameron Dance. They were bumper to bumper in the hairpin, as you saw. They have a long freight train of cars just behind them. There's Cooper Webster and Bo Albert at the front of the field, at the bottom of the frame, and Jordan Caruso wasting no time catching up to them, actually gaining on them quite a lot as Burst gets up the inside of Stewart in the final corner and might have the run he needs, potentially. No. Looks like Job Stewart with the outside line getting the power down slightly better. Oh, that was almost contact between the two of them. Dylan Burse is certainly trying his best to unsettle Job Stewart here, and the same goes for Stewart on Burse. Dylan trying his way around the outside of turn 3. They make contact, but Burse keeps it on the track. Of course, Burse, one of many drivers in the series who races in real life, as Corey Shepherd gets off the track, coming through the left-hander. Looks like a reasonably safe re-entry, though, from what I could see. But Dylan Burse, racing an F5000, certainly knows how to try and dive up the inside, but look at the rate that Job Stewart is stymieing his run. Cameron Dance, meanwhile, getting up the inside of Sam Blacklock, but Sam's going to have the better exit, coming through the Fangio chicane, which used to be an actual chicane. Now it's a flat-out S-bend. Dance up the inside, coming into turn 10. Does he have what it takes? Blacklock's going to have to give him room on the inside. These drivers respect each other. They will give space. And that's how it's going to work out. Cameron Dance might be getting a little frustrated here. Cannot get past the Alvis 215.
Yeah, both Kiwi homeboys, even if Sam Blacklock now lives on the Gold Coast in Queensland. So a little bit of national pride for the two of them going on there. But I don't think Cam Dance is going to have to worry about this too much. I went back and looked at the incident with Corey Shepherd, and there was a big backup, and Blacklock just got into the back of Shepherd, and that's what caused him to have his unravelling through turn 4 and turn 5. So penalty, no doubt, coming Sam Blacklock's way, because that was pretty clear cut, unfortunately, for the artist driver. But this battle for the lead, Bo has not given up, and now Caruso is right there with him as well.
There's going to be a double-pronged assault on the Altus drivers, with the former teammate up ahead. Albert trying to line up a move coming into turn 1 here. Gets to the inside. Webster gives him room to make the move. Will he be able to pull it off? No. Webster around the outside with the extra grip. Looks to me like the race is going to go time certain here. 10 laps will be completed by the drivers. It was scheduled for 11 laps, but it looks like we're going to be completing 10 here, as Ryan Jones has to almost lets the 718 of Corey Shepherd by. Shepherd recovering. Ryan Jones now in lucky 13th, as the two Altus cars battle their former teammate at the front of the field. This is brilliant racing that we're seeing so far, and incredibly frenetic. I remember the race at Watkins Glen, we could barely take a pause because so much was happening on track at any one time. Basically like virtual racing school V8 Scops, which you'll be able to catch on SimSpeed TV this weekend. Support categories on Friday and Saturday, and the main game on Sunday. News from race control meanwhile. Sebastian Vandel was the driver that made contact with Thomas Hinz on lap 1. Vandel has been given a 5-second time penalty. And unfortunately for Thomas Hinz, he hasn't been looked on in a very good light by race control either, because he escaped without permission. Unfortunate there. Oh, goodness me, Dylan Burse rear-ending Job Stewart, has to back out of it. That's going to let Blacklock by. He's going to be sandwiched in the middle of this battle. Stewart, I think, might have gone off the track there. Has he? Got a huge slowdown thanks to that. Job Stewart will be very unhappy. Dylan Burse has been racing him pretty roughly, and Burse will avoid taking the position from him there to try and resume battling. Cameron Dance going to be stuck on the outside though. Will he be able to get the run on Job Stewart? Coming into turn 1, gets into the grass. Oi!
Oh my god. That couldn't have been inches from the barrier, if that. That was right on the rugged edge was Cam Dance coming out of Sunset Bend. Then all drivers, well, I say all drivers, that was one driver having to take the avoiding action. Jeez, I'm on fire tonight. But yeah, Sam Blacklock to the lead of this pack, and I feel bad for Job Stewart. That's a big bit of contact, and it's cost him more than just the positions. And it's been Snell.
Oh no, Snell, he did quite well in the first half of qualifying, but it looks like his race has gone south. He rejoins in 20th position after this incident here, trying to make his way past the number 42 of Carl Edwards Landon. The inside, coming into turn 3. Is this this side-by-side contact? Yes, coming through the left-hander. It's very difficult to get through there side-by-side just because the preferred line is so narrow, but I don't think Lambie did anything wrong there. It's just a case of the track being the way it is, and Snell not giving him the requisite room on the inside, but Snell is going to waste no time trying to make up positions. Currently down in 22nd and battling with Sebastian Vandelers. Oh dear. That is the 0-2 of Jacob Brewer, who is going to have to delay his re-entry onto the racetrack there with a pack alongside him. What on earth has gone on for him?
Where are we? We are at turn 10, coming through turn 11. And, oh, just loses the rear end. And that's a... just kisses the ball, so they could have been a lot worse. He did very well to keep it well out of the fence, but that was, yeah, that exit out of turn 10 and turn 11 is quite difficult as Bo Albert goes up the inside of turn 1 again on Cooper Webster. This two-prong assault is really working, because if one of them gets past, then they can just play front gunner for the other, whether that's Bo or Jordan, and these guys have a monumental advantage, 6.5 seconds back to Sam Blacklock, so that's also going to help. And now I think Bo is going to give Jordan a go instead as he goes up the inside of Big Bend, and this is the fight that I have been looking forward to, because these three, but especially these two, are at the absolute peak of their form, and Bo's no slouch either, but he's an opportunist if anything.
The rough racing is still going on between Job Stewart and Dylan Burst. Meanwhile, we saw a little earlier Burst making his way past Stewart coming into Sunset Bend. Well, Stewart has just taken that position back with a little bit of contact at the hairpin, and it's really helping out the likes of Cameron Dance, Sebastian Flock and Matthew Bowler. Now, you speak about Sam Blacklock, who is up the front of that pack. Well, he's going to have more coming his way because he's been given a 5-second time penalty for his contact that spun Corey Shepherd around. Meanwhile, saw the incident between Lambie and Snell. No further action from race control on that. I reckon that's a pretty sound decision, as now Jordan Caruso is caught right up to Cooper Webster. Pole position starter is the 112, and he wants that back.
Yeah, he definitely does. He was there's a little bit of a, not a wiggle, but you'll go this way, I'll go that way. Has a good run through Sunset Bend, staying nice and narrow on Apex. Webster, on the other hand, running right out to the grass early, so this is going to be a really good run. That draft is absolutely insane down this main stretch. Gets the inside well before the corner. Hugs the inside. It's a bit harder to right side by side to next to each other. That shot out of turn 1 looks fantastic as well. He's still up the inside for turn 2 or turn 3, which is the crucial bit. If he can stay up the inside here, there's a very, very good chance. All the grips on that inside. Oh, a bit of gravel will help his cause as well. Bo's there as well. Will he try and send it 3 wide? Probably not, but I like to be surprised.
Oh, who's the last of the late breakers coming into the hairpin? Jordan Caruso and Cooper Webster equally late, but it's a great defence here from Cooper Webster to keep his former teammates behind him. Oh dear. Oh, it's very difficult to find the line through Fangio. Webster going to go defensive again into turn 10, try and keep Jordan Caruso behind him. This race only has under 5 minutes to go, so there's not much time to get these moves done. But these three just driving away from the rest of the field. It's 5.5 seconds back to Sam Blacklock, who is likely to cross the line in P4, but will definitely finish further down, probably just round out the top 10 with his incoming penalty from race control. Now he has another chance for Jordan Caruso to make his way past for the lead of the race. Can hook up the exit from Le Mans and get the draft down the Ullman straight. Albert's still in tow of these two, but Caruso with a slightly better exit. Webster goes defensive early, but the momentum is with Jordan Caruso. He's ahead when they get to the corner, but Webster up the inside will keep defending that position. Has he run too wide on the exit though? Maybe a little. And he's just going to catch the... Oh, almost kisses the tyre barrier too. Caruso can do nothing to get past him on the straight as Webster is now defensive coming into turn 1. Often you don't want to be on the inside, I think, coming into turn 1, as that's big oversteer for the number 37. He's going to be forced to go defensive once again.
Nothing if tactical oversteer really checked Caruso up mid-corner, which kind of played into Webster's hands more than he probably anticipated, but we have, I'm reckoning 2 laps to go now, with 3 minutes left on the clock, going this way, that way. Caruso goes to the outside. It's not a bad option. Track does come back, and not this time, but Bo being in 3rd position is an absolute godsend for Caruso right now, because he can just be eyes forward, eyes forward.
Squeeze! Squeeze for Cooper Webster on Jordan Caruso. We saw that Dylan Burst is in the pits. I think he's gotten some damage somewhere along the line as Stewart makes his way past Sam Blacklock to get 4th. We'll drive back through the field from Job Stewart, but we will keep our attention here on this top 3 fight. Jordan Caruso must be so frustrated here trying to get by Cooper Webster. He's had the better exits pretty much all race long, but it's been unable to take advantage. But that's a big dive up the inside of Dejen de Bien. Will he get it done? Squeezes Webster out, and Albert's going to get by him too.
I don't know how race control will look on that, because that could swing either way depending on which lens you look through. But that was a sensational move. You don't see moves there very often, but that was a really well-placed car and gave the space on the outside, but I don't know if it was enough, because he was in front, but he also wasn't fully in front, so it's going to be a really hard one to call if you want to call that, but that was a fantastic move.
Such a scintillating battle between these guys, but it is the final lap, and it's Altus Esports 1 and 2. Cooper Webster will try his best to stay within range as the number 42 of Kyle Edwards-Lambie tries to chase down Zach Nickel. Ryan Jones up at the front of that packet, number 29. They've still got positions to decide there. A bit further back in the field, fighting for the last position outside the top 10. 10th is currently occupied by Tyson Broad. Cameron Dance still trying to find his way past Sam Blacklock here. He'll know that the Altus Esports driver has a penalty hanging over his head, so he will gain the position, but if he can make his way past him on track, then he might be able to have a run at Job Stewart. Meanwhile, pass for second, Cooper Webster getting up the inside of Bo Albert on the exit of the hairpin, and rear end contact. Front bumper to rear bumper contact between those guys. Webster now back up into second, splitting his former teammates. Oh, this is going to be a fun finish to the race if Webster has the pace that he looks like he does. He's going to have to nail the exit of Tower Turn and then the exit of Le Mans if he wants to have a proper run here at Jordan Caruso. There isn't going to be a draft for the 112 in P1. No one in front of him, so a big disadvantage as we've seen the draft is incredibly strong. Oh, that is big there. Sebastian Vandel and Alex John coming together. We'll check that out shortly, but we've still got a few turns to go here for our leaders. Webster, will he be able to get the run out of Le Mans? It looks like Caruso's gotten a slightly better exit of the corner. It looks like he might just hold on to this race lead. Oh boy. Final corner then, Sunset Bend. How deep does Webster decide to go? A little wiggle in the braking zone. He'll run slightly wide, but Bo Albert will not be able to take advantage. It is going to be Jordan Caruso who crosses the line in first place in the first race of round 2 of the AOG Porsche Cup. Webster back to second. What a great battle that was for the lead. Job Stewart will finish 4th. Sam Blacklock crossing the line in 5th. Going to be 6 seconds behind the leaders, and as it stands, looks like he might filter back into 8th, considering these drivers crossing the line now.
If you're a fan of continuity like I am, all 3 podium sitters finished in the order they started. This is that incident we were talking about. Second last lap, Ben Snell right in the middle of that, coming out of the hairpin. Oh, yep, that'll do it.
Oh yeah, okay, so I'm not sure if Ben Snell might be deemed at fault for that. Very unfortunate that that Snell's teammate was taken out in the midst of all that. Exit of the hairpin, and yeah, that's a bit difficult to call because you do want to negotiate that left-hander on the exit of the hairpin, but maybe Snell could have afforded to go a bit straighter and take a bit more curb. We'll leave it down to race control though. Here are the results then. Caruso by 0.3 over Cooper Webster. Bo Albert in third. Job Stewart and Sam Blacklock will complete the top 5, but Blacklock will be demoted to 8th place. It's going to be a post-race investigation for that contact between Varndell and Snell, by the way. Cameron Dance crosses the line in P6. Flock, Bowler, Shepherd and Broad will round out your top 10.
Ryan Jones starting second lot of 10 with Zach Nilkill in 12th place. Kyle Lamb and Simon Mazzomo finished 13th and 14th. Sam Muir 15th. Nicholas Greoch in 16th with Kyle Booth 17th. Steve Hosey in 18th. Javan Wood in 19th. And Ben Snell finishing 20th after his late contact.
Garriott taking the AM win there. Good to see. Jacob Brewer will finish 21st, just a 10th ahead of Jay Schultz. Alex John, we saw the dramas that he suffered there in the final laps along with Varndell and Tyson Hanmer, 25th. Joshua Van Treek will finish in 26th. Then it's Matthew Kefford, Zach Mitchell, Dylan Burse and Liam James who round out the top 30. Burse with problems late on. Lachlan Boyle finishing 2 laps down. Glenn Benetti, it looks like a retirement for him, and definitely the same for Thomas Hinds. Kobe Williams is not racing. He did race in a bit of a rough manner at Watkins Glen. So he's been sitting in the booth with race control for this round. This is the schedule for Season 6 of the AOG Porsche Cup. We, of course, are at Sebring for round 2, but my goodness, this is a stacked schedule. We're going to have some very good races here. Finishing off the season with an Australian trio, Winton, Oran Park and Sandown, if Winton and Sandown are released by the end of the year.
Yeah, it's, like you said, a very stacked calendar. Some of my favourite tracks in the sim in real life in this calendar, including those, like you said, that triple header down under to finish. So that's a long way away yet, but I'm sure we're all very excited for both of those new tracks to come out. And I'm sure Sandown will put on its first in-sim thriller to accompany all of the real-life thrillers that it's put on over the years.
We're racing every 2 weeks in the AOG Porsche Cup, so there's going to be consistent racing all throughout the year. Not much in the way of breaks that these drivers are going to get. So, in this 5-minute warm-up session between the 2 races, we've got race control out there doing some reconnaissance in their McLarens. And it looks to me like Kobe Williams is the one out there in the McLaren. Interesting to note, of course, that he's classified with race control for this round. I think sitting out a little bit after the incident that he ended up causing at Watkins Glen. But at least he still gets some track time here at Sebring, taking that GT4 around.
Yeah, it's a good car. It's a McLaren. It looks nice and sharp, and you definitely can't miss it with that highlighter green bit of paint that's been stuck on it, and putting on a bit of a show as well. It's a course car, not a safety car, because I don't think that was really safe. So
a big jumpy boy over the curbs. One thing that we do have to highlight is for the start of race 2, the starting order, the top 10 from race 1 will be reversed. So that basically means our pole sitter for the second race is going to be Tyson Broad, the Pro-Am class winner from race 1. So he'll certainly have all the pressure behind him with the compulsory pit stop required for race 2. Caruso, Webster and Albert starting at the back of the top 10, and they'll be trying their best to fight their way through the field. But considering how chaotic the starts have been in this series so far this season, they're going to have their eyes on stalks.
yeah, they definitely will. And first race was relatively clean. There were a little bit of bumping and shoving, and Thomas Hinz was unfortunately involved in one of those bumps and shoves, but minus that, it was a relatively clean race start. But now we've got very quick guys starting not necessarily at the pointy end of the grid, and that always manages to spice things up. And some people love reverse grid races, some people not so much. I'm kind of impartial, but they're still good. They put on a good show.
Yes, I'm a bit of a fan of reverse grid races as well. I ended up getting a podium in the Aussie Car Turbo Touring Car Series at Catalunya, but unfortunately, due to administration issues, that round has been rendered null and void. So I'm a very unhappy boy thanks to that. But of course, we will have to keep our focus on the racing that's going on right now. 35 minutes for race 2. Could be 18 laps, might not be, because we might go time certain thanks to the pit stop. Broad, Shepherd, Bowler, Flock, Dance, and Blacklock will be your top 6. And then we got Job Stewart, Bo Albert, Cooper Webster, and Jordan Caruso rounding out the top 10. Ryan Jones, he just missed out on getting a top 10 in race 1. He will start alongside Jack Nickel, 11th and 12th.
Kyle Lamb and Simon Mazzomo in row 7 with Sam Muir, Nicholas Grioch, Kyle Booth and Steve Hosey rounding out rows 7, 8 and 9. Row 10 filled with Javon Wood, Ben Snell, Jacob Brewer, Jai Schultz in row 11, Alex John and Sebastian Vandel rounding out row 12.
Vandel has been given a 10-second time penalty from the sprint race as well for the contact on lap 10. He was deemed at fault by race control for that. Tyson Hamner, Joshua Van Treek, Kefford, Mitchell, Burse and James will round out the rest of your field, with Boyle, Bonetti and Hinz also taken to the track. Revs rise and away we go. And it looks like a crash in the back of the field potentially. It was a slow start from Kyle Edwards-Lambie, and Sam Muir also picking up damage thanks to that. He's going to have up the inside Jay Schultz, and he gets forced into the cars outside. That creates chaos here at turn 1. Drivers going off the track, and oh my goodness, we got 3 cars still out there. Ben Snell coming to a stop, and Jai Schultz and Jacob Brewer getting off to a slow start there as well. That's a shame, but Matthew Bowler has held on to the lead of the race. Corey Shepherd on to second. Meanwhile, they got Sebastian Flock trying to pressure him as the Altus trio try making their way through on Cooper Webster towards the back. Tyson Broad, he had to go wide. Oh my goodness, Broad getting swamped here on the first lap. Great run from Matthew Bowler gaining those 2 positions, but now Blacklock and Albert. Oh, Blacklock, he makes contact with Cooper Webster, and they're going to go off. Oh dear, that is incredibly awkward there. Blacklock almost losing it under brakes and firing his way into Cooper Webster in the braking zone. Webster's going to get going. Cameron Dance has to take avoiding action as he re-enters the circuit. Oh dear, that's yet another crash that's happened just up ahead of them. A chaotic start to race 2. Liam James spinning himself out. Nicholas Garriott and Kyle Edwards-Lambie. Oh my goodness, Sam Blacklock, what on earth happened there? Blacklock was trying his best to get into Tower Turn, but it seems that might have been an unsafe entry from Nicholas Garriott. There's the incident between Blacklock and Webster, and I think that might be a slam dunk penalty for Sam Blacklock, but we'll keep our eyes here focused on Garriott, who sees the incident happening in front of him, I think needs to check up, but then goes for a spin, and nearly gets collected by Kyle Edwards-Lambie as well in the 42. And see this re-entry from Garriott. Sam Blacklock will come through here taking the racing line, but he was not expecting them to go back onto the racetrack on the racing line. The safety car has been called.
Yeah. Second. Oh my lord.
That's what happened to cause the incident on the start. Ben Snell getting that contact, and then further contact to the person. Oh my goodness. Oh dear. Ben Snell has had some pretty rough luck here tonight, hasn't he? No fault of his own. Pretty much any of that. black flag with an orange circle in the middle, which denotes that there's too much damage on the car. Oh dear. Okay, so contact with one of the Altus cars ahead. Jones misses the curb, goes over the grass, and then back onto the apex at tower turn, gets some front end damage. Well, that'll do it, won't it?
Yeah, it wasn't much damage, but I think it was just damage in the right vulnerable places, mainly that, what would that be, the right left suspension, right left, front left
Right,
suspension? Yeah, the right left suspension. This is what COVID does to you. It doesn't make you cough and sneeze. It just, yeah. But yeah, I think you were talking about Sam contact with was it Caruso or
It was Blacklock that made the contact
so
with
now
Webster.
I've forgotten. With Webster, sorry, that is definitely a slam dunk penalty, but I think that rejoin, like you said, Sam Blacklock just wouldn't have expected that. That was right on the racing line, right at the braking zone, so that definitely should not go the way of Blacklock. The contact with Webster, absolutely, but that contact at tower turn is, yeah, there was absolutely nothing that Sam Blacklock could have done then.
Blacklock blameless, I guess you could say. Well, the pace car now at the front of the field, and we'll still wait for this pit window to open and for drivers to go in for their mandatory pit stops. Might be a little early in the race to consider doing that. But as things stand, running order: Matthew Bowler, Job Stewart, Corey Shepherd, your top three. Bo Albert and Jordan Caruso have made their way up to 4th and 5th after starting in 8th and 10th. Here's a replay then on board with Sam Blacklock of that incident, both incidents actually. There's Cooper Webster right up ahead of him, and I did see that there was a little bit of oversteer for the Altus 215. He can't go over to the left because I think Bo Albert was there. And they come up to the braking zone for turn 10, and oh yeah, bit of a lock up there for Sam Blacklock, and that sent him into Cooper Webster. No chance of slowing that thing down when you have the rear end get away from you in the braking zone. And Blacklock did okay on the re-entry here. He waited for the majority of drivers to go by. But now we go on board with him, and he'll be expecting to just take the racing line coming into tower turn. You see the incident happening ahead of him, and these drivers making their way back onto the racetrack, and you could see Blacklock didn't know what to do in that situation. And, you know, as the driver on the racetrack, he has the right to take the racing line, and was taken away from him.
Yeah, and these, like I said before, these cars have a lot more grip than the old car did, and the brakes are, you know, the brakes are good, but they still don't have ABS. They still lock up, and I think Blacklock is going to be ordering a brand new VRS, a direct drive brake pedal after that, because he probably put the thing through the floor trying to get it stopped, and that wouldn't have helped him too much in that scenario because he could only brake so much, and he was quite angry in the in-race chat. I'm not sure if you saw that, but I certainly did, and he was not happy with that rejoin at all. So penalty probably still coming, well, definitely coming his way for the contact with Webster. And I can't remember who he hit, but I'm sure they're not going to get away with that scot-free themselves.
Yeah, I would presume so. I am going to apologise for messing up a couple of things earlier. There are no compulsory pit stops in this series, but there is a fuel tank restriction for race 2, which means drivers will have to pit for fuel in this second race. And there is no pit window, so to speak. You can go into the pits pretty much any time you like. That said, you will have to burn off the required fuel you need before you can fill the tank up to get to the end. So no drivers going for their fuel stop at the moment. We have had quite a few drivers make their way to the pits though, largely to repair damage. Sam Muir, Ryan Jones, Sebastian Flock, Joshua Van Treek, Nicholas Garriott. Sam Blacklock has visited the pits twice. Jai Schultz and Cameron Dance going into the lane too, and Ben Snell visiting the pits twice thanks to the rotten luck he suffered at the start, but we still have all 33 drivers in the race, which is really good to see. So, Daniel Yeaman going to stay out for one more lap here, at least in the SimSpeed safety car. And when they get up to this restart, the drivers are going to have to take care. The leader can start accelerating to take the restart anytime from the apex of Sunset Bend, but you are not allowed to have any overlap on drivers coming out of Sunset Bend until you cross the start-finish line. So you've got to be careful about how you gauge that restart if you're starting back in the pack. Going to grab another replay from the start meanwhile, thanks to our friends at Virtual Racing School. Sebastian Flock suffering some issues here on the first lap. We see Flock make his way on the side turn one. And right off the circuit.
Yeah, I missed that incident, and Sebastian Flock was talking about are there waiver rounds, because maybe he was hoping for one, but that didn't eventuate, unfortunately. Yeah, that was heavy contact, and this is on board with Cam Dance now, and that's massive contact. Seb racing the wrong circuit. He's gone for the, I think that's the club circuit. No, the club circuit uses the tail end of the track. That's the short circuit. It cuts back onto between turns 11 and 12. So, wrong way for Seb, but not his own fault. I'm sure Cam was probably kicking himself because he's 99 out of 100 times. He's very much a clean racer. He's a hard racer, but he's a clean racer, so he's kicking himself and is no doubt expecting a penalty from that one.
Yes, well, race control have so much on their hands to work out here. It was largely a pretty clean race in race one, but this race two has been incredibly chaotic. And thanks to the safety car period, the length of the race in distance, at least, has been shortened further. We might only complete 16 laps if we're lucky at this stage. The safety car is coming in this lap. Daniel Yeaman, currently in that McLaren, he is pulled away from the rest of the field, and now holding 100 kilometers an hour is Pursuit Sim Racing's Matthew Bowler to get this restart underway. And thank goodness we're restarting single file, otherwise there might be even more incidents in the field. Either way, he can put the power down any time from the point he goes under the bridge here at the final turn. So, restart time in the AOG Porsche Cup. What does Bowler decide to do? Will he go as early as he can or leave it until towards the start-finish line? Exit of Sunset Bend is where he decides to go. And we are away once again, back to racing action, and already weaving is Matthew Bowler to try and break the draft, maybe get some extra heat into his tyres. Diving to the inside is Bo Albert, and he will force Corey Shepherd to take the wide line coming through turn one. Fantastic move there from the Altus Esports 06 and keeps it clean. Big slide for Simon Mazzomo, meanwhile, coming through turn two, sorry. But Bowler, under some pretty intense pressure from Job Stewart as we check out Cooper Webster, still back in the field. Thomas Hins, unfortunately, has had another incident. This time, at least, he does keep going as a move up the inside for Stewart, and he will take the lead from Matthew Bowler. Meanwhile, Corey Shepherd getting by Jordan Caruso. It's interesting to see that Caruso unable to make his way past, but he will have another go at turn 10, I would imagine. Moves to the inside, has a little look at the 718, but elects to stay behind for the time being.
I just went back and looked at that incident with Thomas Hins, and that was pretty much his own fault. He locked the brakes, hit the back end of Zach Mitchell in the Drop Air Motorsport car, and that caused him to spin. Zach Mitchell drove her off with no issues, so bit of a kind of strange incident, but now too wide through the double left-handed kink is one of my favourite things to do at this track. It's wide enough to do it. You can send it 3 wide if you're really brave or stupid, I'm not sure. But very good move by Albert to get up into second place, and now he's on the charge for Job Stewart.
Oh, looks like a slowdown for Jordan Caruso, though. You see him over on driver's right, and Corey Shepherd getting a slowdown too. Dylan Burse is coming up on this, and he's almost 3 wide with Steve Hosey and Javin Wood. Looks like Caruso just clearing a slowdown in time to keep them behind. Dylan Burse will be looking for a result. Corey Shepherd has not cleared his slowdown. He's going to have to get that done. Looks like he has cleared it now, but he has lost quite a few positions, back down to 6th place. As Simon Mazzomo makes his way past. Now he's cleared it. Goodness me, Corey Shepherd just falling down the order here as he has to stay off the circuit. Javin Wood making his way past. So now, Dylan Burse behind Jordan Caruso. Burse, remember, had a very scrappy battle with Job Stewart in race 1. Now he'll try to work his way back up here, but Job Stewart under a big threat from Bo Albert. Got the draft coming down the straight towards the hairpin. Not able to make the move into the turn, though. Oh, Kyle Edwards-Lambie again.
He's not been having a good run at all. Thankfully, plenty of space for him to get back on track as Cooper Webster is in 29th position. Not sure what happened. Put him all the way back there, minus that contact with Sam Blacklock early on, but
he has gone to he went back into the pits, did Cooper Webster. I'm wondering if that was service taken for him. No, it doesn't look like it. He was only stopped for 5 seconds, maybe getting some damage repaired from that. Either way, Webster not going to be able to keep himself in the top of the order. Goodness, just got the car unsettled. Big shame for him. But the racing continues, and defensive for Jordan Caruso versus Simon Mazzomo, who lets Dylan Burse by on the inside. Burse now up into 6th place and trying to charge on to the front. Bo Albert making a charge to the inside of turn 1. He will take the lead from Job Stewart, but for how long? It's over-under for Job Stewart. The crossover, one of the moves that can definitely be made at turn 1 here at Sebring, and he will try his best to defend that position. They give each other room, and Stewart will keep the lead coming into Big Bend, but Albert is on the attack. Stewart going defensive now into the hairpin. What will Bo Albert be able to do here?
Well, Bo is far enough up through the apex and he kind of pulls out of it. I was going to say he can hang it around the outside and get that inside left curve. Gives you a good run down the straight towards turn 10, but he goes on the attack around the outside of turn 9, part 2. Goes up the inside of turn 10, and you can't really fight that one on the outside as well as you can some other corners. And Bo Albert now leads this race, but Job Stewart's not going to make it that easy for him as he slots in behind, and we still have 18 minutes to go, so this is far from over.
Got to give kudos to Matthew Bowler for holding on to a top 3 position here. Fantastic stuff. Of course, he has taken advantage of the problems for others, but staying out of trouble is just as much of a skill in sim racing as the driving itself. So he'll have a front row seat to that battle between Stewart and Albert. They are still very close. Might Job Stewart go for a move up the inside of Sunset Bend? Albert with a slightly better run down the Ullman Straight, and it looks like Stewart's not going to be close enough to get the move done that time around. Of course, these drivers will want to race each other as hard as they can. They will want to avoid penalties. They were big at Watkins Glen. As trying around the outside here, it's Javin Wood and Tyson Broad we're taking a look at here, with Tyson Broad on the outside coming out of the final corner. Now remember, Broad was the man who started on pole for this race, and he will keep that position, still trying to hold on for a position in the top 10.
Yeah, it was a very good run around the outside, and I was actually going to say, I'm wondering if that's why Job Stewart didn't go for the move on Bo Albert into and through Sunset Bend, because that outside run is almost far superior to the inside run into the corner and then having to gather it up for the apex and the run out. So I'm wondering if that's a bit of patience for Job Stewart, and B, a little bit of that's not my preferred line. I'm happy just to sit here and wait for him to make a mistake. So Hammer and Snell now going at it, very close round, big bend into the hairpin. Snell on the inside gets the job done cleanly. Very nice move, very clean.
Yeah, lots of space given by Tyson Hanmer as well. I think he knew that that position would be difficult to defend against around the outside at the hairpin. Caruso, meanwhile, is catching up to Matthew Bowler for third place. Getting up right behind him now as they come into Gendebien and Le Mans. Fantastic sequence of corners here. It's all going to be about the exit for Caruso. He swings it out a little extra wide, takes a bit more curb out of the inside of Le Mans and gets a good exit coming onto the Ullman Straight, and will pull out nice and early to get the move done. Stewart still holding station behind Albert in the lead, but that's going to be at the back of Caruso's mind as he gets the move done. It is now Altus Esports 1 and 3 once again, as they were in race 1, but with the positions inverted. Sebastian Flock, meanwhile, trying to make his way back up through the field after his adventures on lap 1. Cameron Dance is right there with him as well, so they'll be sharing the same bit of racetrack for the second time this race. Hopefully it doesn't end in tears this time around.
Yeah, both of them on the recovery drive now, and I didn't quite catch what Flock said over the radio. Bo Albert taking some of the curb and then some as well, getting right up on two wheels through turns 4 and 5, but Seb definitely not in the position he wanted to be. Is that
Burse?
Burse.
Yes. Oh, that's an interesting re-entry.
Jesus.
Oh. Yeah, okay. Might want to keep a lid on that one, but fortunately no other cars involved in that rejoin. Wonder what on earth happened to Burst there. He'd worked his way up into the top 6, and now he's all the way down in 14th. He's from here. Oh dear, just got a bit too much curve in turn 3. That unsettled the car. Unfortunately, he managed to keep it out of the wall, though, so
yeah, nearly didn't though, because Sam Blacklock again coming through at a rate of knots. Nearly clipped him, but thankfully manages to just get out of the way just in time, and I'm sure he wasn't too happy with that rejoin either. But both drivers again on the recovery drive, for both of them having a lot of misfortune in this race, and some of it self-inflicted and some of it not.
Fun fight going on between Lachlan Boyle and Jacob Brewer here. Kyle Boyle is the one in front here. These guys have been battling hard over the course of this lap, but it seems that the momentum is with Lachlan Boyle. Out of the Le Mans corner, though, he's going to have to go defensive potentially. Did he get a little slide on? Because through is going to come the 0-2 of Jacob Brewer up the inside into Sunset Bend, and away he goes. Meanwhile, side by side between the 77 and the 4. This is looking pretty tight, have to say. Alex John and Sebastian Vandel. Vandel going to just avoid getting off the circuit coming out of turn 1, but it seems that Alex John is going to get the move done there as Sam Blacklock rounds them up. Oh, there's been further problems for Dylan Burse. Actually, no, it looks like he's bringing it into the pits. Tyson Hanmer is in there as well. We're going to start seeing scheduled pit stops happen for these guys now.
Yeah, so involved with what was going on screen that I completely forgot about the fact that we had a pit stop, and race controllers just said that all lap 1 incidents will be reviewed post-race, which I think is probably a good idea, because Dylan there was a lot going on in that first lap, and Burst has come in and he's dropped from the jacks and he's rolled forward and not gone anywhere. Sorry.
Lachlan Boyle, who we were just following, he's gone for a spin. That's a big shame for him. So Jacob Brewer will get that position back for 17th, but Boyle's got to try and find a gap here on the racetrack to get back on, taking his time getting back going. So go to the virtual racing school replay to see what happened to him. Out of the hairpin. There's the exit. Poor exit. The number 97 was the one who made contact there, Joshua Van Treek. As we go back to live pictures, he might be requesting a tow from race control here and wondering if that's been given to him. Meanwhile, Altus 1 and 2, once again, Jordan Caruso made the move on Job Stewart at Sunset Bend. And
yeah,
looks
now,
like... Go on.
sorry, no, after you.
I was just going to say Dylan Burse has been given a warning from race control for the unsafe rejoin, which Sam Blacklock barely avoided. So race control keeping an eye on Dylan here.
Or you say that, but Dylan stuck in the pits for a very, very long time, not moving, and he was inching forward, and I'm wondering if maybe he's had a technical issue with his wheel and the car won't start. But at the moment, nothing.
That's a shame for Dylan Burse. It's not going to be a good run for him here tonight, despite his pace that he has shown. Meanwhile, looks like Sam Blacklock making his way past Javen Wood. Meanwhile, Varndell and John will continue their battle. They were very close last time we looked at him, and the situation is pretty much the same in the present moment. And unfortunately, it looks like Lachlan Boyle has elected to retire from the race. It's a shame there for Lachlan, doing quite well. Wondering if there's going to be a position change here between the Altus cars, because once again, Jordan Caruso looks like the one with the pace right now. Albert has done very well to hold on to the lead after taking it, but Caruso will remain behind him coming into Sunset Bend. They don't want to... if they do elect to trade positions... Oh, hello. Job Stewart and Jordan Caruso. Actually, Jordan Caruso, only Jordan Caruso, coming into the pits. And I think it might have been timed with catching up to Bo Albert like he did. He would have lost quite a bit of time trying to make the pass on track and might have brought Job Stewart back into contention for the lead. So electing to take his stop now, and looks to me like 5.8 seconds at a standstill, get the requisite fuel back in the car and back out onto the racetrack. But this is going to be an interesting rejoin here for Jordan Caruso. Look at the cars that he is joining with. Oh my goodness, he's going to have to take it easy here. Just coming out behind Ben Snell, trying up the inside. Snell is going to let him go. He sees that Caruso is the one with the pace in that situation.
Yeah, it's very heads-up driving by Ben Snell for sure, because Caruso came out of the pits like a bat out of hell and nearly made contact, but thankfully both drivers through unscathed. And this is the tricky part. You want to, pit to help your strategy and, undercut the driver in front of you, but this is a Pro-Am race, so not everyone... There's 30 cars and they're all at ridiculous, well, not ridiculous, but big speed differences, so you really got to try and time that pit stop so you don't have an unfortunate incident.
On board with Ben Snell in turn one, and big oversteer moment. Look at it, look at that. Tell you what, that was almost disaster for Jordan Caruso, as he would have exited the pits just behind that. If Ben Snell wasn't able to hold on to that, then we might have seen one of our contenders for victory out. Well, now Caruso working his way back up. And he's got Joshua no, is that Sam Blacklock that we're looking at? Yeah, it was Sam Blacklock having to serve a slowdown down the start-finish straight as Stewart takes his stop. Steve Hosey there in the background as well, making his way through the lane. It's been a rough night for Steve Hosey, but he's managed to hold on to a position in the top 10. Oh dear. Matthew Bowler, who was doing such a good job holding on to a top 5 place. Gonna have to be careful about this rejoin. Oh, drivers avoid him. But Bowler will be carrying some damage to the rear end as a result of that, which in a Porsche 911 you do not want. Stewart, meanwhile, has just come out of the pits behind all of that, and he's got Jordan Caruso just behind him. So Caruso, having to fight his way through these cars, has lost some valuable time to the pursuit number 35 as we take a look at what happened to Bowler, just losing the rear end coming into turn 1. The bumps are quite harsh there in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, they definitely are, and it's so easy to get caught out by them as well. Caruso is finally through on that unpitted traffic, I'm going to call it. It's not lap traffic, it's unpitted traffic. So he's now right on the back of Job Stewart's Pursuit Porsche. So this is going to be a really good fight because Caruso needed to come out of this in front, but he hasn't. But he has the means to attack, and all this is going to be doing is helping Bo Albert as well. He comes round Le Mans now down that back straight, so the gap back to them, not 100% sure what your timing says, but it should be enough of a buffer, especially with more lap traffic as well. I think that's Matt Bowler now, who gets out of his teammates' way very quickly.
Does indeed. Bo Albert has stayed out though. He might be leaving it as late as possible to go on to the lane for the contact between Van Treek and Boyle, as Cameron Dance has to try round the outside of the Century Batteries machine of wood, having a couple of issues there with internet and latency. Dance will move up the inside into turn 1 and grab that position. That's for 7th place, but Javin Wood will try his best here to go up the inside again at turn 3. And oh no, he went a bit too deep. Hits Dance off the circuit, and oh goodness, Sebastian Vandel getting involved in that as well. Just came up on it very quickly and was forced to make a couple of decisions. Seeing that Kyle Booth and Glenn Bonetti have made visits to the lane, Booth just exiting, Bonetti still in the lane as things stand. Goodness me, there's just so much going on out here on track. There's passes being made all over the place. We literally can't keep up with everything that's happening out here.
Yeah, it's non-stop action. Is just seeing that
watch out for. Those concrete barriers come right up to the racetrack, just losing it on the gravel. So Bo Albert now. You mentioned timing just before, Brad. Well, Jordan Caruso is 27 seconds behind Bo Albert, having made the move on Job Stewart for what is 12th place at the moment, and we'll be expecting Albert to bring it in very soon being right now, and slowing all the way down for the pit lane. It seems that pitting later is a bit of an advantage in terms of time gained, but of course traffic would have something to do with it. Corey Shepherd goes to take the lead as Zach Nickel enters the pits behind Bo Albert. We focus on Jordan Caruso. We'll see what happens here when Bo Albert completes his stop. A nice quick stop there for Albert, only 4 seconds. So looks like he might come out in the lead potentially. Stewart and Caruso just crossing the line, and Albert will exit in the effective race lead.
it's not just the effective race lead, it's 3.5 seconds of effective race lead to those he's directly battling. And that is an absolute perfect pick of pit stops for Bo Albert.
Got to wait and see what the situation is with Cameron Dance, though. He suffered damage early on, had to go to the pits, but he made a second visit to pit lane 11 laps ago, was stopped for 3 seconds, so Dance might have enough fuel here to get to the end of the race. Either way, he might potentially be in contention here. We'll have to wait and see if he decides to make another visit to the lane as he passes Tyson Broad coming into turn 10. Battle for third on track, and Blacklock as well on 3 pit stops. Of course, the drivers who pitted more than once due to damage, helped by the safety car. Albert then makes his way past Broad. So Dance and Blacklock might still be in contention for victory here. We'll have to wait and see.
You know, we've got pretty much 1 lap left to go, so anyone who has not pitted yet will have to come in this time by, or I assume face the harshest penalty that the AOG race control guys will hand out. But this is going to be really, really telling now. If Bo gets past Cam into turn 1 and Blacklock doesn't have to pit, then yeah, I don't know what to think. We're gonna have to wait until the checkered flag really to see how this race stands, but at the moment Sam Blacklock effective race lead.
Cameron Dance in second and now down to third as Bo Albert fires it up the inside of the first corner. It is Altus Esports 1 and 2 once again, as we see Broad, Mazzomo, Vandel in the lane 2. And I want to finish a point I was trying to make earlier. We saw the incident for Lachlan Boyle with Mr. Van Treek. It turns out it was a hardware failure for Lachlan Boyle, which is certainly not what you want to see. Big shame there for Lachlan. But it is the final lap, and Cam Dance will be trying his best to take that second position away from Bo Albert, but Bo getting a great exit out of the hairpin. He is completely gone now. We're still waiting to see what the situation is with Sam Blacklock, whether or not he has taken everything required, but we're hearing from race control it's likely that Sam is going to get a post-race time penalty, so that may be the win taken away, but that is one of the many lap 1 incidents that will be reviewed post-race. So just a couple more corners to go now. We're thinking at this stage that Bo Albert will be classified as the winner, but Sam Blacklock is going to be the one who crosses the line in first place, and pretty good drive there from Blacklock, of course. Still have to think about the incidents from lap 1, which will be reviewed by race control, but it is going to be Altus Esports who crosses the line first either way, regardless of whether there's a penalty or not for Sam Blacklock. Bo Albert will finish ahead of Cameron Dance, who holds on to third. Jordan Caruso and Job Stewart will complete the top 5 as well. That's one way to try and make the move. Getting onto the grass is Corey Shepherd and Ben Snell, who were battling for position 8, and Shepherd is going to win that fight.
I say, I've watched, yeah, 3 wide, nearly. That's.
Whoa.
Why is he?
Oh no,
that's.
Bowler going for a spin.
I'm sure he's absolutely thrilled getting unloaded again for the umpteenth time tonight as well, because he was on for a decent recovery drive for having a late incident, but apparently it just wasn't his night, and I'm sure that'll get investigated as well, because that was a pretty slam dunk penalty in my opinion.
Well, race control have their hands full after the conclusion of tonight's racing. These are the unofficial results. Sam Blacklock crossing the line 4.5 seconds ahead of Bo Albert. Cameron Dance completes the podium. Caruso, Stewart, Flock, Webster and Shepherd round out the top 8. It's going to be Ben Snell who wins the Pro-Am class, and Zach Nickel rounding out the top 10.
In 11th place we have Steve Hosey with Tyson Broad finishing 12th, Sebastian Vardendell and Ryan Jones finishing 13th and 14th, Simon Mizzomo and Alex John in 15th and 16th, Jai Schultz winning the AM category half a second in front of Kyle Booth, and 4/10 behind them was Javan Wood, so very close finish for the podium in AM class. Thomas Hinz as well coming home in 20th place.
Nicholas Garriott will come home in 21st, Joshua Van Treek in 22nd, Matthew Bowler, well, he started in 3rd and held onto it very nicely early on, but it all came undone for him in the second half of the race. Sam Muir and Kyle Edwards-Lambie, 24th and 25th. It's going to be Tyson Hanmer, Jacob Brewer, Glenn Benetti, Zach Mitchell and Liam James who round out the top 30. Matthew Kefford, the last driver to finish the race. Lachlan Boyle with a hardware failure, and Dylan Burse, we're not sure exactly what happened to him, but he ended up retiring too. So, before we go to our driver interviews, we'll check out, thanks to Virtual Racing School, this incident from Matthew Bowler. He was at the front of this pack, and he said he got unloaded. I think you're right there, Brad.
I think as far as all of the penalties in that second race that we're waiting for post-race interviews, because there were lots of them, I think that's probably up there with the most clear-cut of clear-cut penalties, because that was a send from a long way back into a door that was rapidly closing, and yeah, I don't think there's really much wiggle room for that one.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Well, we wait for the drivers to come in so we can have a chat to them, but round 3 is going to be at Barber Motorsports Park on the 1st of March, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight. So make sure that you tune in to SimSpeed TV for that one. The Spider Sculptures will be looking over a sure to be fantastic race at what is a very tight and twisty circuit in Birmingham, Alabama. Well, looks like we have 3 drivers in for our post-race interviews. I don't know if Sam Blacklock is going to show up, so I think as things stand, we will take the driver who crossed the line first out of the 3 that we have in the interview booth, that being Bo Albert in the 06. Bo, congratulations on a double podium here tonight. A great turnaround from Watkins Glen.
Absolutely. Watkins Glen, I put a bit of work into. I was hoping for a promising round, but unfortunately got tapped from behind in race 1, which just put the race on the wrong foot. And from there, I was just mentally in a terrible mindset, and that showed in race 2, probably going for gaps that didn't exist and just pushing the envelope far higher than really I should have been. And eventually I caused my own incident in race 2 as well. So yeah, to bounce back with this result this time around is fantastic.
Certainly was a frenetic night of racing here at Sebring. The starts have been incredibly hectic in this series so far. How do you put any thought into surviving what is sometimes inevitable carnage?
That's what I mean. I don't know if there is a point in thinking about survival, because in this series, I think in a lot of cases, it is just so busy with so many fast drivers all in a very close pack that it's really just sort of rely on instincts, really. You can't go in with a game plan, because game plans in this series get thrown out the window in seconds. It really is just a case of rely on your instincts and see what happens. And fortunately for me tonight, my instincts paid off.
They did indeed, and this being the start of a very long season, there's still plenty of time to make up the points that you lost at Watkins Glen, so it's definitely a case of playing the long game here.
Oh, absolutely. And, I was mentally in quite a bad mindset in round 1, and look at the result. It went absolutely terribly. So in between the 2 rounds, I actually went and I've had a bad run of things for the last 6 months. I really wanted to sort of turn this around. So I did a lot of mental training. I've started doing meditation, just things to calm me down, basically help me sort of think more clearly in races. And I went into this event thinking, don't go for race wins today, just sort of bank points. It's a long season. It is 14 rounds or something. It is a long season. So I wanted to bank points, and this mindset, I guess, paid off pretty nicely tonight.
It's even more than you think, Bo. There's 20 rounds this season, which
boy.
is, quite the number. Well, you'll obviously be starting your preparations for the upcoming rounds very soon, and we'll let you get to that. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank from your garage?
Absolutely. A big shout out to Jordan Caruso for helping me out with the setup this weekend. He built us an absolute rocket ship. So thank you to him for that, and good luck to him in the Porsche Esports Super Cup this weekend. A big shout out as well to Logitech G Virtual Racing School, Cube Controls, Own 3D, and all our other partners as well who help these orange and gold machines, orange and blue machines go nice and quickly.
It absolutely seems to be the case. That was Bo Albert there, taking double podium here tonight on the circuit. Next up, we got Cam Dance, who crossed the line just behind him in race 2. Well, Cam, it's not a bad night for you, especially considering you were another driver that suffered pretty poor luck at Watkins Glen, a 6th and a 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't be too displeased with that at all. So considering what happened at round 1, and it's made up for it, certainly.
Well, certainly, I asked Bo Albert about the very frenetic starts in this series. Is it just a case of trying your best to negotiate the chaos on lap 1, especially here at Sebring, where the track width is so variable and it's very difficult to run side by side through most of the corners?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I think it's really heavily dependent on, I guess, who's around you and what your starting position is, just primarily down to the fact of you don't know who's going to do what off a start, and you don't know who's going to get what sort of a start as well, since everybody's still sort of learning how to get these things off the line. So it's a little bit of a lottery so far in the first 2 rounds. At least the first lap has been a bit of chaos, so you've got to keep your head about you and your eyes as well to make sure that you don't make any mistakes or get taken out for that matter. Don't do what I did at turn 2. Yeah, it's been very, very interesting so far with the way that lap 1 has been, and it's just been very much about being safe and conservative, I guess, in some respects.
Yes, well, coming through this second round, we go to Barber next round in 2 weeks' time. How do you usually go at that track, and what do you expect it to be like in the Porsche?
It's actually one of my more favourite circuits, to be honest. I do enjoy driving around there quite a bit, just with the undulation and the way that you have to really hustle the car around there to get the maximum out of a lap time. So we'll see how we go. I haven't really done many laps around there in the Porsche, so to speak, whether it's 992 or 991. So I'll be putting in some laps to try and find out how to drive the thing. But yeah, looking forward to it. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think qualifying is probably going to be a very, very important thing that week, with the fact that it's a little bit harder to pass there. But yeah, we'll see what happens, and we'll get cracking with testing.
Shall do. We'll let you get to that, Cam. Any shout outs or sponsors who got it done for you tonight?
Yeah, just first of all, shout out to the boys at TechSense Fitznine Motorsport, and obviously all our partners on the car: TechSense Sensors, Renville Harnesses, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC, Majors Garage, Sim 3D. You guys for the awesome broadcast, Dan and Tom for the awesome job in the series, and yeah, all the boys for the awesome racing tonight.
Thanks very much for joining us, Cam Dance, for TechSense Fitznine Motorsports. Next up, we have got Altus Esports' Jordan Caruso. Goodness me, Jordan. Great performance from you in race 1, taking the win and holding on for a 4th in race 2. What happened in terms of the pit stop? Was it just a case of working your way through that traffic of cars that hadn't pitted yet, costing you time?
I'm honestly not too sure. I didn't have like a fuel program or anything. So I kind of just guessed, and I think I just put too much fuel in. And I didn't really save, I don't know, the whole time I wasn't really thinking too much about fuel. I was just kind of driving. But no, I mean, it was still a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a good day.
Yeah, very good day indeed, and certainly some good prep going in for the Porsche Esports Super Cup. And I think you know, the amount of high stakes racing in that series, I would think is certainly comparable to this one, considering the amount of drama that we saw on the opening laps in both races here.
Yeah, definitely. In Pesquet's, a big majority of your result is sort of based on how well you can manage the first lap carnage. I really didn't do a good job of that today. I ran off by myself in the first race, and I was way too cautious in the second one. But yeah, definitely comparable in that sense.
Well, this is the first round in this series that you've done. Can we expect you to make a full season charge here in the AOG Porsche Cup?
I'm not sure I'll commit to every round, but I'll definitely do the ones that I'm available for. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, so I'll definitely be coming back.
Good to hear. Well, congratulations once again on your win in race 1, Jordan. Who do you have to thank for it?
Just everyone at Logitech G Odyssey Sports, their virtual racing school, Race Tech Seats, Cube Controls, and Blackhawk Media, and all you guys, I guess.
Well, cheers very much for joining us in the 112. Jordan Caruso there. He'll certainly be starting his preparations for PESC very soon. Final 2 driver interviews of the night, first of which we're going to talk to Ben Snell, who took the Pro-Am class win in the second race. Great job there, Ben. Race 1 didn't quite go your way, though. You had some very poor luck tonight.
Yeah, well, I guess poor is one way to put it, but I think it was a blessing in disguise getting a meatball on lap 1, because I managed to fill up on lap 2 and save fuel and get through to the end and didn't have to stop again and managed to jump a bunch of people. So I guess it's just a strategy on the fly got me to the top, because, still really don't know how to drive these cars yet.
Still working things out. Well, Sebring is certainly going to be a tough track in that case. The bumps are really playing havoc with the balance of these things, considering how little you can actually adjust on them.
Yeah, well, this was the first time I ever drove the car tonight. I've only driven the 991 before, and I just used the set that the guys put in the Discord, and it felt like so much more planted than the 991 used to. So I actually found the braking was pretty easy compared to the old Porsche. So I was pretty comfortable. I just couldn't quite get the pace compared to some of the other guys in the Pro-Am class. But yeah, it's super fun, and Sebring's such a fun track to drive. So I definitely enjoyed myself.
Very good result for you, and taking that victory in Pro-Am for the top split. How do you think you're going to go at Barber Motorsports Park? Can we expect you there?
Yeah, I'm going to try and make the rest of the season on the Tuesday nights. I've got Tuesday nights free, so definitely looking forward to having a crack at the rest of the season. And yeah, Barber's such a unique track, so it's going to be very interesting because there's not really much places to pass, and there's lots of spots where we can get a bit of carnage as well. So it'll definitely be an interesting race in a fortnight's time.
That it will. Well, before we let you go, Ben, you obviously have a few sponsors to thank.
Yeah, big shout out to the Top Split for having me, AJ getting me in to run the series with him, and of course, big thank you to Tarzia Tyre Centre as well.
Thanks very much for joining us. Ben Snell there in the number 141. Great stuff there from him. Meanwhile, in the AM class, in race 2, the victory went to Jai Schultz. And congratulations for that, mate. How did it go for you?
Yeah, the start of the race, I had a really good getaway, but ended up overdriving it into turn 1. So thank you to everyone that was there tonight for not cleaning me up as I was spinning. But with the safety car, ended up coming in with 1 lap to go to top up with fuel, and that was enough to make it home without the stop late in the race. So kind of worked in my favour a little bit.
Yeah, certainly did. And safety cars, obviously a huge factor in this series, especially with how many incidents have gone on throughout the races here tonight. Race 1 certainly was a bit chaotic all the way through. What was your view on negotiating the opening laps?
Pretty much just take it really easily, braking a good 100 meters before you normally would, just to try and keep your nose clean and out of trouble, and then just watching where like if there was cars in front of you that had spun off, just making sure that you're not going to clean them up on your way through.
Do you expect more victories in the AM class to come to you throughout the season, or are you just taking it race by race?
It's me first time in this series, so last fortnight I think I ended up second in class. And then tonight, it really surprised me that I got told that I won the class tonight as well. So definitely a good start to the championship, but the competition's pretty decent in here. So we'll have to see how we go for the rest of it.
Either way, certainly great potential ahead of you. Well, before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Just me teammate Seb that joined me in the race tonight. He does all the paints for the team. Shout out to him. Also, the Intersim Esports Network, and also Brush Shields Express.
Jai Schultz taking home the AM class victory tonight. A brilliant run there from him in race 2, completing it without a pit stop. That is quite the achievement. Well, we end things for tonight. Brad, what a night of racing it was. I can't believe the amount of drama that happened here at Sebring. With Barber Motorsports Park being as tight as it is, there's just as much potential for that.
Yeah, sorry, Reese, my internet's been really awful tonight, so I have myself muted just in case. Barber's going to be absolutely mental because Sebring, like you said, was bad enough, but now Barber's tighter, it has elevation, it has monstrous curbs, and I don't know what to expect. It's a completely different circuit, and I'm sure we're still going to have some of the same chaos, but the racing in 2 weeks' time is going to be absolutely sensational.
Very hard to pass at Barber Motorsports Park, so there's going to be some brave moves being made. Well, we want to thank you all for watching, for tuning in for the second round of the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup, presented by Sam Blacklock Media. And this series, if the first 2 rounds are anything to go by, is going to be a dramatic one. 2022 is going to be huge here on SimSpeed TV. Make sure that you chuck us a subscribe and hit the bell so that you know when our next broadcast is. I'm Reese Gardner. It was Brad Wingard alongside me with Jay Kennedy on production. From all of us here at SimSpeed TV, bye for now, but not forever. In a Porsche Cup sense, we'll see you at Barber in 2 weeks' time.